Good morning, excited for the Ask Rivian today. Let's get going. The question of how we charge our vehicles comes up a lot. And of course, when we charge our vehicles today, if we're charging from the grid has a lot of fossil fuels that are still powering it. Just to put some scale to this, there's over 8,500 coal power plants across the world that are still powering the grids, across not just our country, but across all the countries around the planet. And so the scale that we have in terms of the challenge of shifting not only our 1.5 billion vehicle fleet to electric, but also the entirety of our grid to being sustainable renewable energy, this is a big shift. But I want us to just sort of take a moment. I love that this question came in, and just reflect on where we are in time. So if we think about our species, up until very recently, the idea of traveling across the world in a matter of hours, living in a cold climate and having tropical fruit in the winter, sitting in a room with conditioned air or lit rooms, these are all really recent phenomena for us as a species, and they're really the result of the rapid industrialization and the creation of a fossil fuel based industrial complex. And what we're doing is we're taking hundreds of millions of years of accumulated carbon in the form of liquid fuels like petroleum or solid fuels like coal, and we're converting that into energy, and we're recarbonizing the atmosphere at a rate that's hard to imagine. Again, hundreds of millions of years to sequester all this carbon, make these fuels go into the surface, into the crust of the earth, and over just a couple of generations, we're reversing that. So if you imagine the history books, call it 2,000 years from now, they're going to look back, and this moment that we all miraculously are alive during is going to be like this focal moment where our species either transitions rapidly off of recarbonizing the atmosphere, or we don't. But of course, I deeply believe that we will. And the history books need to read that we rapidly switched to what we must do as a planet. For us to continue living the way we live today, fossil fuels are a very finite resource, and we're burning through them very quickly. And the faster we switch off of them, the faster we convert the grid to electric, and the faster to renewable energy, and the faster we convert our consumption things, vehicles, trains, buses, to electric, we can move off of something that's very carbon intense. And so that's why I started Rivian, and that's why I think it's so important that hopefully our products inspire customers, hopefully our products inspire other competitors. But the ecosystem of this change is something we get to witness in our lifetimes. There's a lot of excitement on R2. I'm in the design studio with Jeff, who leads our design team. Jeff, do you want to tell us about what's behind me here?
Behind us is a clay model of R2, and we just wanted to give you a small little sneak peek of what we have coming.
So we spent some time talking about R2, and Jeff and I teased a little bit of the exterior, but a huge part about thinking about how we design our products and what goes into them is the inside, the interior of the vehicles, the materials, how they come together. And I'm here with Liz, who leads what we call our CMF team, and I'll let her describe what is CMF and what we do as part of this, part of the process.
So we're in our CMF lab, and it's colors, materials, and finishes. So anything you touch and feel in the vehicle, we work on, interior and exterior. And
we look at all these different colors and finishes, and we'll mock them up into forms that allow us to really judge it. So you see this is representing something from the interior. You can see these exterior panels give some shape and form. But a lot of this is us really getting the tone of the vehicle right through a combination of these different materials and finishes. So something we're really looking forward to is some of the new colors that we're launching. And my kids actually ask me all the time about how we develop colors, where they come from, what inspires us. And the process is the team will really work to identify the mood or the tone or the theme of a color, and then we'll develop and iterate it many times, and ultimately eventually gets painted onto a vehicle, and we have to really assess it. And so what we see here is a really dark green. It's so dark that it almost looks black, probably in the video. It doesn't do it justice, but as you sort of move the camera around on the vehicle, you can see it really changes. This is one of those really hard to photograph colors. But this vehicle is unique because it not only has this really dark evergreen on one side, but we have a slate on the other side, which is fun. It's a two-tone vehicle, but down the middle. I really like this slate. It also looks just beautiful. I also love the idea of a split color. If you can't make up your mind, get both. I don't think we're actually going to do that. So maybe, who knows? But it's definitely a really unique feel when you see both. This has been driven around and people have asked questions like, what is that? And it's like, well, we're testing colors, but this is part of the process. One of the most important focus areas for us as a business, actually the most important focus, is our production ramp. And production ramp drives so much of the business. It's core to our path to profitability. It's core to all of our customers that are waiting for their vehicles. And it also allows us to really get the whole organization humming, the supply chain, our production plan, our teams. And it is a fun question because as we're about to sort of record this one, we're standing here and this is Brian Gase's vehicle. This is VIN 3. So this is the third vehicle to come off the Rivian production line. I think this is like 1500s. This is another employee car, I think. And that one's like 20,000. But yeah, we continue to ramp. This is a core focus. Teams are like heads down and we're making really good progress. You're going to see quarter over quarter more and more production units coming out, and along with that, the business really start to achieve its clear path to profitability. So tank turns are a question we get asked about a lot, and just to give some context, the way the vehicle is set up with our quad motors, there's a motor that drives each individual wheel. And what that allows us to do is we can apply torque in any direction, at any level, instantaneously at any time. And so you can send torque on one side of the vehicle in one direction and the other side of the vehicle in another direction. And with sophisticated controls and a feedback loop, you can create a torque moment where the vehicle rotates on its center axis like a tank. And so this was something early on in the program we'd planned to do, and in fact we showed a video of it. And over the last, I guess, year and a half, we've arrived at the view that it's a feature that while we can do it, it's so easily abused and so hard to make sure that we don't tear up trails and really do things that are in contrast to what we stand for as a company. It's not to say we don't like to have fun in the vehicles. In fact, as we were talking about this video, I walked out to our parking lot at one of our facilities and saw this, which looked awesome. I don't know whose it is, somebody on the team. So whoever's this is, nice. Got the tent, a bike rack, and clearly they had some fun this weekend. But you can have a tremendous amount of fun in the vehicles. The vehicles are so capable, so like more capable than most people even use them. But this was, coming back to the tank turn, this was something that we just felt didn't feel congruous with the way we approach respecting the trails, taking care of the trails, and not leaving ruts and those sorts of things. This vehicle went out and had a lot of fun, but didn't do it with any damage to the trail. One of the things that I'm constantly reminding myself of is to remember what it's like to have the idealism and the lack of constraints that you have as a child. And when I was first thinking of starting this company, I was a kid, and you think of all the opportunity, you think of all the things that could be different. Your brain is filled with what ifs, and I think as we get older, you learn a lot of the reasons the what ifs aren't possible, and whether it's society or cultural norms or whatever, you stop dreaming in the same way that you do as a child. The advice I give to myself all the time, and the advice I simultaneously give to a kid, is to just keep dreaming and stay idealistic. I literally write this in my notebook probably 5 times a week: stay idealistic. Sometimes it's really easy to lose that purity that comes from a willingness to challenge convention and a willingness to do something differently. So I think the other thing to keep in mind, if you're somebody that's dreaming about what you could do, and regardless of age, whether you're 10 or 30 or 50, is to know that you should keep pushing. It's going to be hard, but don't let someone push you away from going after the things that are possible and the things you really want to build. One of the things we get asked more than probably any other question is, how can I get my vehicle sooner? So I'm here with Tony, who leads all of our customer engagement and go-to-market teams. You may know him as Tony from the emails. But Tony, do you want to walk us through the R1 shop?
Absolutely. So this is the R1 shop. R1T customers have been given access to the R1 shop. It's a way for them to navigate this online portal and get access to vehicles even sooner than they expected at times. So what you see with the shop is essentially a set of filters that allow a customer to pick the color, the wheels, and the interior that they prefer. And then they can scroll through. If you click on one of the vehicles, it'll show you the interior. So if you click on one of the vehicles, it essentially shows you the full configuration of the vehicle, the price of the vehicle, and you just basically have two more steps. You confirm your configuration. On the following page, you click one more button that says that this is the vehicle I want, and the process begins for you to purchase.
In terms of what's coming that I'm most excited about, I'd say there's a couple. We're on the mapping screen here. We're making some big improvements to our overall mapping platform. Route planning, EV route planning, integration with point of interest, search, all of those things are going to improve through a series of steps really quite dramatically. And we know that's been a feedback point. I can't wait for that to happen. And a fun one, if we were to go to our cameras here, it's a top-down view. This is front view. I could also go rear view here. But this view is going to become something that allows us to move the camera. So today it's a fixed position on top, but we're going to be able to move the camera around the vehicle. And it's really an AR application where we can create views of the vehicle moving or parking as if you're standing or floating anywhere around the vehicle, which I can't wait for that to come. Wasim probably didn't want me to talk about that. And then the thing that is also coming that I'm really excited about is we're doing a complete redo of our rear screen. And today, it's really just climate, but we're going to have climate, navigation, audio interface. So to give this screen a much bigger reason to exist, and I think give rear occupants some of the fun that we have up here. So a lot's coming, and that will be something that we continually invest in and upgrade as well. So that's something that Wasim and our software team are pushing really hard for, and I'm leaning on them heavily because there is a lot of missed or sort of unaccessed opportunity with the rear screen. But look for that mid-late summer. What I love about how we've architected the vehicle is, by not only designing the electrical architecture and the network architecture and all the computers or the ECUs that sit on top of it, but then the software stack, it gives us a lot of flexibility to enhance the features over time and add features, improve features, of course, address bugs. So when I think about what my favorite aspect of our software stack is, it's really the ability to continually see it update and improve. So this is a really fun question. My middle son Max, is a huge Dinosaur fan. So I'll have to show him this one. This is a hard question because most dinosaurs have some tragic shortcoming. The T-Rex has really short arms. A Diplodocus has a teeny little brain. It's a giant dinosaur with a small brain. But if I had to pick my personal favorite dinosaur, I'd probably say the Diplodocus. The vegetarian dinosaur, which is fun. It's sort of like remarkably large and interesting, but feels lovable despite the fact that it's such a capable thing. So I guess if I were to pick, probably something like a Diplodocus. So we're building our Rivian Adventure Network to really allow and enable our vehicles to go anywhere on the map. And this is, of course, one of the challenges that needs to be overcome to drive electric vehicle adoption. And we're seeing lots of charging networks emerge. We're seeing those networks open up. Just in the last few days, we're seeing news around the networks opening up and more vehicles being able to access different platforms. We're creating our own network with the Rivian Adventure Network, and it is being set up to be an open network. And it's to connect all those dots on the map. And I'm standing here, it's actually funny, this is a map of, we did a drive early in the development, it's been 4 or 5 years ago, where we went from the tip of South America up to LA. And there was no charging infrastructure, so we had to put in place some of the charging infrastructure to do that trip. But soon, in my lifetime, charging infrastructure will exist across all locations. For us, with Rivian Adventure Network, we're focused first on the United States, but that will expand outside the United States. But we have some really key corridors to get up and down the east and west coast, connecting both sides of the country. and making sure that if you want to go anywhere, you can get there in your Rivian. So when we were designing the product plan and thinking about how the vehicle would look and the features, one of the goals we talked about all the time is to make new EV customers, to help get people excited. And what's interesting is today is we know, and we have the data, that the vast majority of our customers have never owned an EV before. So that's a really good thing, because the goal of our brand and what we're building is to help draw on people to experience electrification for the first time, and to help create this sort of echo of interest in this transition. So one of the things that I think is least talked about and appreciated is when you have an EV that you can refuel, so to speak, you can charge at your house, and it makes, or where you live, and it makes the ownership process just so seamless. You never have to think about, is my tank full? It's just charged, and that's sort of the elimination of going to a gas station is a really wonderfully nice thing. And one more thing, having the ability for the vehicle to recapture energy when you're going downhill feels really good. So let's say you're driving over a mountain range and you get to the top and you have 160 miles of range. It's exciting watching the range estimator as you go down the mountain grow. So go from 160 to 175, and this happens, of course, on highways, but we see it off-roading all the time, where someone goes on an off-road trail, or you get to the top and the competition way down isn't who can get there the fastest, but who can pick up the most miles on the way down. So it's those are really fun things that I think often you don't appreciate until you're driving an electric vehicle. But is he? So Brian's been at Rivian since the very, very beginning. I think he's employee 5. And I love Brian, but I don't know if I'd characterize him as being cool. Sorry, Brian. I'm just kidding. I honestly think he embodies a lot of the energy and spirit of Rivian, and has so much passion for what we're doing, and it just pours out through him, and anyone that meets him feels that way. So yeah, he's an awesome team member. In developing a drive unit, like our Enduro drive unit, there's lots and lots of different types of tests. So we'll do tests where we look at the strength of the materials in it, but we'll also do lots of tests where it's a full assembled system. So not subsystem tests, but actually the motor itself. And we use dynamometers like this to do that test. In this case, this is Enduro here, sort of hard to see. We're doing some oil testing on this, so to look at the flow of oil throughout the cooling chambers around the motor. But just to give a peek, I'll show some of the other test chambers. We have lots of dynamometers across Rivian, across multiple facilities. This is one of our powertrain development facilities I'm in right now. And we're going to look at a few other dynos. And what we do with these is, some of these are developing or continuing to test control systems and control algorithms. And then what we're looking at here, this is a lubrication test on a future drive unit that we haven't yet announced. It's a really high performance drive unit that we'll be launching. And what's exciting is, when you come into our development facilities, none of this we normally show publicly, but it's all the future products, of course, are in here. And so this one's, of course, not running. Here's a dyno cell with the rear axle and the front axle, so you could also pull a full vehicle. In this case, we just have the drive units. The quad motor setup that we're looking at here is driving the 4 different dynos, and allows us, in this case, we're doing some durability testing on a future, yet to be announced drive unit. But this is really exciting in terms of the progress and some of the things we see on the roadmap. We have a lot of questions that have come in around Enduro, and so we're trying to capture a couple of them over a few snippets here. I'm here with Phil, who leads some of our testing team. And we're standing in front of a bunch of pieces of an Enduro drive unit. Again, the Enduros are completely developed in-house, single drive unit per axle. It's just launching into R1. It's been in the vans for a while. But Phil, tell us about what we're seeing here. And we do lots of testing: dyno testing, performance testing, durability testing. What type of testing does this represent?
Yeah, so this is one of the abuse tests that we do, where we take a unit and we put it in a chamber where it's subjected to a salt spray over a course of about 60 days. And that is an accelerated test, which represents a full useful life of worst case condition that a unit might see. And so you can see the nice level of corrosion on the outside, but nice and clean on the inside. So we've just done a tear down of this unit to see how far that corrosion would ingress.
So this, because the vehicle can drive in the water, so there's 3 feet of fording capability. These are real tests we put the vehicle through to make sure that when we say you can ford through 3 feet of water, that the vehicle is capable of withstanding that and maintaining performance throughout the life. And these types of tests we'll do before and after testing, and then the teardowns that Phil just walked us through. So this is pretty cool. There's a lot of excitement around the Max Pack. This is going to be launching late summer, and first launching with our Enduro drive units with a dual motor setup. It'll eventually be available on both the dual motor and the quad motor. But when we develop a new battery pack, I want to just sort of give a picture of how this goes. We not only have to design the pack and the enclosure and hold the cells and connect them all, but we characterize all the cells. So we look at how the cells perform at different temperatures, at different charge and discharge rates. And the way we do that is we have thousands of individual cell testers. And this is an example where in each of these, there's an individual cell. Like this one's hot, this one's cold, this one's cold. We control the temperature of each of these, and then we're charging, discharging, starting at different states of charge, starting at different states of health. And we build this massive database of how the cells perform across every sort of conceivable sort of point in the three-dimensional test space, what we call design of experiments. And that allows us to then create our algorithms to perform optimally depending on what the temperature is, what the state of charge is, what the state of health is, if it's charging or discharging. And so that work feeds into like pack updates. We've seen software enhancements to the pack performance. So our large pack today on the truck with the quad motor is getting 328 miles. So you'll see range continues to improve as we continue to find ways to leverage and utilize the cell as much as possible. But just to give a sense, so as I said, these thousands of cells that we're testing, these testers, we've designed these ourselves. So these little individual testers, each of these has a control board. The way we control the temperature on each of these is we're flowing either chilled or heated coolant in or out of these little chambers. There's a little resistance heater inside of them as well. And then if we have to go a lot colder than ambient or a lot warmer than ambient, we'll put them inside of actual test chambers. So these ones are all in ambient, but off in the distance over there we have a lot of like chillers, we have some heaters to go really high temperature, but it's all part of the development process on our battery pack variants. So we're developing a bidirectional charger. We have not shown it, we have not talked a lot about this, but importantly, all the vehicles that we built, all the vehicles that are on the road today are bidirectional capable. So once the charger is in place, that allows the vehicle to charge the house or the vehicle to send DC power into the bidirectional charger. That allows those vehicles to be part of the grid. And what I always say is just exciting is if you think of buying a lot of battery storage for your home, and let's say you buy 20 kilowatt hours of battery storage, the battery storage has to sit at the house, it can't move. If you buy a Rivian, you get, depending on your battery pack, 130 plus kilowatt hours of storage, and it also can drive. You can also use it in the car. So we think this is a really exciting development with electrification and how the vehicles play such an integral role in our grid and supporting increasing levels of renewable. We're really excited about the ability for a vehicle and the battery in the vehicle to serve both as the energy source to drive the vehicle, but also to serve a role in helping us to drive our grid towards renewable energy. So can the vehicle power your house, so to speak? And I think there's a lot of misunderstandings around how this actually works. It's not as if you can just easily plug your panel box into the side of a vehicle. And so what's really necessary to do this efficiently is to create what we call a bidirectional charger, where you plug the vehicle in and you can either charge the vehicle from the house or from the grid, or vice versa. The vehicle can send power, DC power, direct current into this bidirectional charger, and it converts it to AC, and then it goes back into the house. It's really fun to see customers out forming communities and using their vehicles. And one of the things I love seeing is when groups of Rivian customers get together to go do things, to go explore, to go have new experiences together. But if I had to pick a favorite, the Emerald City Rivian Club, which is up in the Pacific Northwest, this must have been maybe a month ago, went out and gathered a bunch of Rivians together, so the pictures were awesome, but they went out and did a beach cleanup together. And so just seeing the sense of community that formed around it, but seeing that sense of community really connect with our mission, connect with our reason for existing, was really moving. It was really powerful. So I love seeing stuff like that, and there's like countless things that are happening. I keep wishing I could find a way to plug into one of them. One of these days I'll get to join one of these great customer events. We get lots of feedback. Some of it's really positive, some of it's really constructive, but we listen to it all. But one of the things that's sort of consistent across all those feedback points, which actually means a lot to us, is that customers are connecting with and seeing how well integrated the product is. So the hardware, that's like the electronics, the physical hardware like the vehicle, the software, the features, and they're really experiencing and feeling what we think of as like this continuous, consistent, holistic experience. And the reason that's so nice for us to hear is that was our target. And organization, we spend a lot of time talking about how do we take thousands of engineers and designers and across multiple locations, multiple backgrounds, and have them create a product that feels as if one brain, one person did all of the work, where everything feels like the decisions are all informed. And I think to a large degree we've accomplished that, and that's what people are feeling and experiencing. And it's one of the reasons we went so heavy on vertically integrating our electronics and our software in the vehicle. Now, that doesn't mean there's not things we can improve on. I've talked about this before. Our charging pad is something we're improving on. We have a whole host of new software features that are coming, but really everything that we do, we think about holistically as one product. The way we designed the organization, and therefore that led to the way we designed the vehicles, is we develop all the electronics that sit in the vehicle and then the software that sits on top of them. So this is something that we view as like foundational to making sure the vehicles feel really holistically well integrated. And I'm holding a body control module and part of our AXM, our autonomous control module, or autonomous experience module, sorry. And by developing the hardware and then of course the software that's on top, we can design it with a lot of headroom. So the hardware, that's compute, that's memory, that's the way the different computers are connected through the vehicle, allow us to imagine feature sets that are well beyond what we have in the vehicle today. And so for those that own a Rivian, hopefully you see this, every several weeks we're updating through an over-the-air update, new software with new features, bug fixes, enhanced features. And a previous session, Wasim talked about some of the things coming. I'm really excited about how we're gonna unlock the second row screen. So there's a lot to come. So one thing you can say about the Rivian software experience is it will continue to get better and it will continue to evolve. We get lots and lots of emails as a company, and I get a lot to me directly, asking when we're going to come to different markets, and whether it's Norway or Denmark or Germany. It's great to see enthusiasm, certainly well beyond the United States. So we're hearing it, we hear it loud and clear, and as we think about our future products, in particular R2 and beyond, the way we're architecting them, the way we're thinking about them is to make sure that they go very quickly into a whole host of different markets. And I can't wait. I can't wait for more folks to get access to the brand that we're building and the products that we're creating. Well, I'm now driving as I leave one office to go to another one. My favorite part is seeing all the team members come together to work on really hard things. And one of the things that's makes designing and developing vehicles so interesting is there's so much to do. So it's not the kind of product where one or two people could do it. So you look at the steering wheel, this alone has hundreds or thousands, I should say thousands of decisions, and those decisions need to be coordinated. There's somebody that's designing how it looks, someone designing how it's made, designing how the airbag comes out, designing the structure, designing the feel, designing the visibility. So just seeing the teams work together to do all that is really incredible. And every day across every part of the business, whether it's in our technology teams or in our self-driving teams or product engineering teams, there's lots and lots of trade-offs and debates and challenging things to solve that we get to work on. I started Rivian really to focus on helping to accelerate how quickly we can move to a carbon neutral society. And as we see more electric vehicles come in and different brands launch electric vehicles, this is great. We're really excited about it, and a big part of how we think about our product and the technology is to hopefully not only inspire customers, but inspire competition. And that competition between different brands and products helps create better features and creates more options for ultimately customers. And that will drive more rapid adoption. So as we look at everything that's coming out, different brands, different products, we think this is really good. There's a lot of exciting things that are coming. And of course, it motivates us to push ourselves harder to say, where can we be creative and innovative? Where can we create products that are unique and feel really special? And hopefully you see that in the R1 products. There's a lot of little details that we just really thought through, whether it's a flashlight in the door, the gear tunnel on the side of the truck, that just try to interpret our brand in a unique and special way. So I often get asked the question of, do I like the truck or the SUV more? It's an impossible to answer question. I like them both equally, but the truck, given it's what we launched with, I have a special place in my heart for the truck. And my favorite feature on the truck is the gear tunnel. And this is something that we conceived and thought about at the very, very beginning. It was like the first thing we thought about in developing the truck. And essentially the rest of the vehicle was developed around this tube that goes to the side. And what makes it so neat is you can put all kinds of things into it. So you can store luggage, you can store duffel bags, suitcases, but the door also acts as a step, so it's great for loading things onto the roof. It's great as a seat, as a platform you're putting on your shoes. The doors have little compartments, so this is a compressor kit for the air compressor. It's in the bed, but on the other side we have a first aid kit, which with my kids I use all the time. So yeah, this is definitely my favorite feature. It's a really unique feature.
My favorite feature is also the gear tunnel. Bye, everybody.
We're building out a broad service network. Some of that's physical service locations, and we have, I think, about 35 of those today. But a vast majority of service is actually being done with mobile service vans and mobile service trucks. But we're rolling out several hundred of these as we speak, and we've taken our van and we've created what we call the Rivian Service Van. And so the giveaway of a Rivian Service Van is it says Rivian Mobile Service on the side. But we also have these beautiful murals, and there's a bunch of different designs that are on each of them. So we wanted to sort of add some art to the roads as they're out there. But importantly is what's inside. And these are set up with, there's a few different versions. Some of them can do tire changes like what you see here. Other can do more mechanical work. But the team's done an amazing job of setting these up to be really sort of perfect rolling service centers or rolling service stations. Thanks for all the questions. We love seeing the enthusiasm and all the interest and excitement for what we're doing. We'll see you later.